Growing your own tomatoes from seeds, it's easy and fun. Heirloom tomatoes are open-pollinated, unlike selected hybrids. If you save the seeds from these tomatoes, you will get tomato plants that are like the parents. There's a small chance that some cross-pollination with other varieties that grow nearby may occur. Even if that happens, all the excellent flavor of these tomatoes is usually preserved. Don't gather seeds from hybrid varieties, as these will not work. You have to buy them every time. These hybrid varieties are bred for productivity, disease resistance, and size consistency. Taste is usually very poor compared with open-pollinated varieties. Saved seeds from good varieties can be stored for several years. Prepare your seed trays in advance so you will have small tomatoes to plant in early spring. In my area, February is a good month. You will have to adjust according to your area. With warm temperatures and good conditions, tomato seedlings will be ready to plant in 6 to 8 weeks by April in my zone. Even seeds from a freshly eaten tomato, washed in a strainer and placed on a paper napkin, will work after they dry out, if the tomato is not a hybrid variety. Even so, it's best to clean and store the seeds in a dry place, if you want to use them for a few years. Place one seed in each compartment of the seeding tray. Don't bury the seeds too deep and don't use a heavy and compact soil. After planting the seeds, water your seeding trays generously. Cover the trays to keep a humid atmosphere and don't place the trays in direct sun. After 1 or 2 weeks, almost every seed should start to sprout. Ideal temperatures are between 68 to 75 Fahrenheit. Some varieties might take more time, so keep the lids closed to maintain adequate moisture. With 25 days, the seedlings are starting to look good. After the first 3 weeks, there is still time to replant a few failed seeds. Keep the young plants watered as needed, especially if they are in a hot place. After 6 weeks, it's time to remove the small plants from the seeding tray. If you want to have a more developed plant before planting outside, move them to a bigger pot at this time. Tomatoes like to be planted deep, so take that into account when potting them. Most plants won't need support at this stage, but provide it if needed. Water the potted plants thoroughly. In the next few days, if you keep the plants on a hot greenhouse, water them every day. Otherwise, watering 2 or 3 times a week is usually enough. If you decide to grow your plants in pots, you will have to place them in bigger pots at this time or they won't produce any tomatoes. One of the most important aspects of growing tomatoes is pruning them correctly. All lateral growth below the first cluster of flowers should be removed. These suckers grow between the leaves and the main stem and are easy to identify. Leaves with clear signs of disease should also be removed. You should also remove leaves that are too close to the ground and leaves that have turned yellow. You can easily remove young lateral growth by hand. Flower buds won't be mistaken for lateral growth as they are located in the main stem between the leaves. If you decide to keep your tomato plants in pots, give them a large enough container and a good soil. Don't forget to add some organic compost to the mix. Tomato plants like to be planted deep. This will allow for the development of a good root system. Unless you are planting a bush tomato plant, called determinate, as it won't grow much beyond 6 feet, you will need to provide a sturdy support system. A cane will support an indeterminate tomato plant in the first couple of months, but won't support the load when this big plant enters full fruit production. Take into account that some tomato varieties can produce fruit that can weigh more than 1 pound when planning your support system. If you don't mind a smaller production, you can have a few plants in smaller containers, like these. Remember that for healthy growth and fruit production, tomato plants will require several hours of direct sunlight a day. If you really want to produce tomatoes, you should consider planting them in the soil. Only in the soil, an indeterminate tomato plant can reach its full potential. It can grow several feet tall and can fully spread its root system. These plants won't stop growing and can produce fruits until late fall, unlike determinate plants that concentrate production in a relatively short amount of time. Young tomato plants can survive in the soil with only 8 weeks if the weather is warm enough, around April in my zone. Nevertheless, if you prefer, you can plant bigger plants at a later date. This will help the survival rate in the case of heavy spring rains, as I have in my area. Soil mounds or raised beds will have to be used in these conditions to ensure disease-free plants, as they can survive in very wet soils. If possible, protect your plants from strong winds and provide a good support system. Don't use a sprinkler as a watering system. Tomato plants should be watered in the roots only. Indeterminate tomato plants, unattended, will grow into a jungle mess in no time. Such dense concentrations of leaves will mean poor production and lots of fungal diseases. Lateral branches and the excessive leaves should be removed to ensure good air circulation. Prune your adult plants using the same principles showed before. Usually, all lateral growth is removed. Nevertheless, to increase production, you can allow more than one stem on each plant. Beware that with this approach, there's an increased chance of fungus development from overcrowding. New growths will keep developing at the base of the cuts and will have to be cut again. It's always best to spread the main stems on the support system. Keep the lower part of each plant stem clear from leaves for better air circulation. When supporting with a wire system, tie the stems with rubber string to avoid damage. Unsupported stems will break with the load of the fruits. A healthy and well-pruned plant grown from seed will start producing lots of tomatoes after 3 or 4 months, depending on the variety. Five months after being planted, most tomato plants will still keep producing new fruits depending on local conditions. Overcrowded conditions will favor the most dangerous tomato plant diseases caused by fungal spores. Spores germinate and infect healthy plant tissue. Blight, anthracnose and other fungal diseases can cause leaf and fruit spots, rots and wilts that lead to premature defoliation, reducing tomato yields and can even kill your plants. Older diseased leaves should be removed as soon as possible, as they are a breeding ground for the fungus. At the end of the growing season, remove all plant debris so spores can't overwinter and infect the next season crop. Grow tomatoes in full sun with good air circulation, as fungi thrive in moist, humid conditions. For the same reason, don't overwater or water from above. Keep developing fruits from coming in direct contact with the soil surface. If possible, do a crop rotation and don't plant the same crops in the same spots year after year to break the fungal disease cycle. In average, a single tomato plant can produce more than 50 medium-sized tomatoes in a single season. Some varieties are more productive than others. Some modern varieties have greater disease resistance and will produce greater yields of beautiful tomatoes of identical size. Unfortunately, most of those modern varieties are quite bland in terms of flavor. I rather prefer older, more traditional varieties that excel in terms of flavor. In my perspective, it's better to risk the possibility of a bad year with reduced crops for the better taste of some of these old varieties. This is what you can achieve if you take the time and effort to grow your own tomatoes. A word of warning: if you do grow your own tomatoes, you will be spoiled, and you will find out that you don't like store-bought tomatoes anymore. You have been warned. In the tomato world, looks aren't everything. One of my best tasting tomatoes is one of the ugliest ones, and it's a challenge to cut. You will never find it in a supermarket, and you will never know what you are missing. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a comment if you have a question or if you like the video. Like, subscribe, comment and share the video to support the channel.